Welcome. Welcome. Big love to all of you. So a quick question before we start. I think I've asked you guys this question before, but I want to ask you again to see if anyone remembers. Where does the hippopotamus store her money? Put it in the chat if you know. You are spiritually sophisticated enough to know the answer. Where does a hippopotamus store her money? Nobody. The riverbank. Oh, Justina got it. Justina got it. Okay, anyways, just seeing if y'all are awake. So good to be with each of you. Yes, so lovely. All right. Same announcement as last time, Kripalu Retreat, July 16th through the 21st. I hope you can all come. It's quite a feat to get there. And I invite you to look at it as it's like a Girl Scout jamboree where we all show up at the same place in the summertime. So if you can come, please come. And if not, we'll see you sometime. We'll see you sometime. So one of the things I like about our Sangha is that we meet often. We meet a couple times a week. It builds a sense of strength on the path, a sense of commitment. It gives us an inward focus. And so tonight, I'm going to be speaking about spiritual power. And so I invite you all just to close your eyes and we'll just go inward. And I want you just to feel into your body and just do like a little interior survey of what is your relationship to your spiritual power. Do you feel spiritually powerful? Do you feel strong and confident? You feel as if your spiritual energy, your prana, your chi is flowing in the direction of truth. Are you manifesting your highest here on planet Earth? And so we're just feeling into this. We're being deeply honest. Just seeing what comes forward. Yes, no, or maybe so. Even find a percentage. Do you feel that you have 5% access to your power? 70%? 90%? What is your relationship to your spiritual power? Is it brand new? Is it old? Have you had it forever? A sense of connection to who and what you are, what your life is about. And so whatever the observation is, I invite you to bring a quiet sense of awareness into the space of the heart. Just feeling a gentle sense of love, gratitude for being here. A sense of love from you to you. I invite you to open to the energies of grace and transmission. The Divine Mother to you, from God to you. love, waking up love in you and as you. And so just feeling the crown open, the third eye open, the throat open, the heart beginning to fill with love, beginning to be flooded with love. And as we breathe in and breathe out, inviting this love to awaken the power centers, the solar plexus, seeing the solar plexus waking up, coming alive, radiating with a sense of energy, a quiet sense of personal power, good, healthy personal power. A sense of I know who I am and what my life is about. I know who I am and what my life is about. And if you feel any questioning or any doubt there, don't trip. We can say, I'm getting to know who I am. Coming to discover what my life is about. So softening and opening. And then feeling down to the hara, inviting the hara to awaken. Connecting to a deeper, almost impersonal sense of power. The hara, the lower belly, it's a strength, Buddha nature. Knowing and trusting that's what's here. This awake awareness in the belly has outlived every experience, the coming and going of every experience of your life. This type of power, this type of awareness in the hara, timeless, eternal, from lifetime to lifetime, unflinching. And again, if there's any sense of doubt or insecurity, just acknowledge I'm getting to know. Getting to know. This deeper sense of impersonal power. So breathing deeply and fully, just noticing if you're holding on to any insecurities, if there's any insecurities veiling your sense of power, it's personal or impersonal power. You could ask yourself, what do I need to do? Become more in touch with my power. What do I need to do? Become more in touch with my power. Is there something I need to let go of? Is there something I need to step into? Is there something I need to let go of? Is there something I need to step into? So we can hone in on this a little bit further. I could ask you, are there any truths that arise of your second chakra, your third chakra, fourth chakra, your heart? Are there any truths that arise that you hear, but then don't act upon? Any truths that you hear that you actively ignore? Because if this is the case, it's going to weaken your power center, weaken connection with the truth. This will weaken your ability to stay awake here on planet Earth. What truths do I hear? And then I ignore. What truths do I hear? And I ignore. And are you willing to hear them now? Are you willing to hear them now? In order to hear these truths and to allow them to guide your life, when I ask you, do you believe in yourself? Third chakra energy here. Do you believe in you? Do you believe in you? Do you believe in you? Or do you believe that you're no good? You have no energy. You have no power. Do you believe you're unworthy of the truth? Or do you sabotage the truth? Do you believe you are a victim, a wounded child? Do you believe you are still a child? Sometimes we don't even have to be a wounded child. Sometimes we can just be a child who likes to play, but doesn't want to take responsibility. Do you believe in you? Do you believe in you? Do you believe in your higher nature? So I'll ask some questions to hone in on that. Do you say something and mean it? Do you say something and mean it? Do you say something and follow through? Do you speak the truth? Do you honor your word outwardly and inwardly? Or do I listen to fear? Do I listen to doubt? Do I listen to worry? Do I listen to insecurity? Are these the gods I bow before? Do you believe in you? Or do you bow before the gods of fear, doubt, and worry? You follow the forces of distraction. Or do you follow the truth and act out, live the truth? Do you follow the commands of God? Second chakra question. Do you follow the commands of God, the truth? Commands that God is bringing forward in your life? Do you have absolute faith and trust in God? Listen to her word. Do you follow the voice of ego? Leading you in circles. The dog chasing its tail. Do you live a life of excuses? Or do you follow the truth wherever it leads? Wherever it leads. Wherever it leads. You listen to the constant barrage of excuses that the ego makes for itself. Or do you follow the voice of truth wherever it leads? Wherever it leads. It feels good or feels bad. You follow the voice of truth. And so if you like, you can gently open your eyes. Or on the path of spiritual awakening, there's often two schools of thought. One is, I sit back, I do nothing, and I wait for grace to strike. I wait for grace to strike. You know that God is the doer. I don't have faith in my egoic nature, and so I sit back and wait for grace to strike like a lightning bolt. And the other school is the school of efforting, striving, and doing. And somewhere right now, probably on Facebook, in some Buddhist forums somewhere, maybe in real life, people are having these debates in a retreat center or a coffee shop or wherever. Certainly online, people are having this debate. Well, how do I wake up and stay awake? Well, we wake up through grace. But in order to stay awake, we have to work for it. So of course, both are true. Both are true, of course. You look at the life of any great master, they dedicated their life to the truth. It's very simple. It's be very rare to find someone who woke up and stayed awake, who didn't dedicate their life to truth. And dedicating our life to truth means we are connected to our power. We've harnessed our power. Our power is going in one direction. It's aligned with one thing. It's aligned with love, with compassion, with truth, with peace, with clarity. So you say, Craig, you just said it's aligned with one thing. That seems like a lot of things. The one thing that we are aligned with is the mind of God, the realm of truth. And so if we want to wake up and stay awake, we have to be in touch with our power. In fact, I can take this down a notch. If we just want to live a reasonably sane life, a reasonably healthy and happy life, we have to be in touch with our power. We have to be in touch with our power. We have to know our power. We have to harness our power. We have to direct and command our power. When we are not connected to our power, we are at the mercy of our ego. The mercy of our ego. The hopes, the dreams, the desires of our egoic nature. Sometimes we're just at the mercy of the programs that run our ego. You know, I had this I thought it was a hilarious moment. I had a lot of them this weekend, but one was my daughter, she wanted me to take her to the hot springs. So I took her to the hot springs here in Durango, and you know, we got in this pool, and you know, if you imagine who's at the hot springs, well, it's a bunch of hippies in the hot springs. Just that's kind of folks going to end up in the hot springs. Me, an old hippie, you might find me there. You might find me there. But when we look at like the programming of a hippie, if they're in a hot springs, they're sitting in a pool together, there's going to be a couple things they're going to be talking about. And it's just like this great stereotype. They're sitting in the hot springs, and they're sitting a little bit further away from me, but I just hear, you know, just talking. Permaculture. It's like, of course, the hippies talking about permaculture. Well, you know, it's like, what is permaculture? For those who don't know, basically it's organic gardening. They talk about it's like this new idea, and that they're just absolutely enthralled with permaculture. They talk about it's the greatest thing that's going to save humanity is permaculture. And I mean, maybe it could. Maybe it could. Maybe it will. Maybe that's the thing that saves us all is permaculture. Second topic hippies talk about. I'm going to be blunt here. I'm an old hippie, so I can say this. If hippies have children, Waldorf schools. It's just like, talk about permaculture and Waldorf schools. We could talk about some other things, but it could get a little, then I get in trouble with YouTube if I talk about the other things hippies like to talk about. But, and so I was just noticing, I could go to any hot springs across America. If I sat in a pool with the hippies, permaculture is going to come up at some point in the day, some point in the soak. If they have children, Waldorf schools. Okay. Throw in vans, you know, at some point, vans, living in a van, whatever. Anyways, free places to camp. Yeah, it's just like this program that runs in them. And again, like I can laugh. I've been a part of all those conversations. Now, with me, I never talked too much about gardening, because one thing hippies do is they talk a lot, don't do much, talk a lot of talk, not much doing. When I was a hippie, I worked for my teacher. He didn't tolerate talking without doing. I made lots of gardens for him. The last thing I ever wanted to talk about was a garden at the end of the day, because my hands were all blistered and tore up and coarse and rough and calloused from working a shovel all day. And I didn't want to talk about gardening because I know gardening is hard. I don't have some hippie ideal about gardening. I know gardening is like being a mother, being a nurse, and being a farmer. Hardest jobs on planet Earth. You know, so like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. But what I'm trying to focus in on here is we have these programs. We get locked into these programs. We think this is who I am. If I'm a hippie, I just have to think about permaculture and Waldorf schools. Now, because it's spring break, I want to be, again, a little mean here, but I hope you guys just play with me here. My town gets invaded, flooded with Texans. No offense to anyone in Texas. I love the great state of Texas. Texas has way too many people, and they came up here and they vacation here in Colorado. And it happened to be St. Patrick's Day when I was there. And so then we have, you know, people who are whatever, 40, 50 years old, who maybe they work in suburbia or some corporation or something. And this is their big week to come and ski and party. St. Patrick's Day, what do you have to do on St. Patrick's Day? You got to wear some kind of, you're in a hot tub, so you're not wearing any clothes, but I can wear a green paper hat, some green beads, and I'm going to be drunk as hell in a hot tub. It's like, can we wake up and see that there is another way to live? Another way to live. Can we step out of our program? I got poor St. Patrick, this great saint, spreading the word of Jesus, sharing the teachings of forgiveness, compassion, and love, and healing. And somehow his holiday became attributed with just getting drunk. And so if we're, and I'm going to be really rude here, clueless in the world, lost in the world. If the culture says today's the day I get really drunk, then this is the day I get really drunk. Again, an egoic program that is not helpful. When you are disconnected from your power, we think things like St. Patrick's Day means drinking. The Super Bowl means a day of drinking or whatever. If I'm a hippie, I have to think about these topics. If I'm aligned with this political party, I have to hate the vaccine. If I'm aligned with another political party, I have to love the vaccine. It's like people are so stuck in their programming, so lost in their politics, so lost in the programs of life, the programs of the culture. The culture. If you want to free yourself from any program, you have to be in touch with your power. You have to be in touch with your power. All of us live in some form of a tribe. Some form of a tribe, whether the tribe's our family, whether it's a friend, whether it's a community. And there's nothing wrong with being in a tribe, having tribal consciousness. The tribal consciousness often holds us back. It holds us back. If we want to step out of tribal consciousness into something higher, something that is in alignment with the truth, not the tribe's truth, but the truth, we have to be connected to our power. We have to be connected to our power. If we want to be awake in this world, we have to be connected to our power. If we want to heal, we have to be connected to our power. If we want to live a reasonably sane life, we have to be connected to our power. If we want to share our gift in this world, our gift being the gift that God gave us, the gift that we're obligated to express and manifest, we have to be connected to our power. Now, many of us, unfortunately, are still looking for a magic pill. Now, a magic pill is another one of these ego programs that is in our culture. I think it might be in all cultures. All cultures know about, I think, this idea of the magic pill. The magic pill that will ultimately heal us, awaken us, free us. The pill where we never experience pain again. The new rage in the spirit, pseudo-spiritual community is, of course, psychedelics. I do psychedelics and then I'll never, completely heal. You have all my problems, connect me to my power, and I'll be enlightened and everything will be great. And if we're non-dual people, it's, if I follow this teacher, that teacher, enlightenment will be the thing that frees me. So I never have to experience pain again. Now, I happen to be one of those teachers who doesn't believe in a magic pill, the magic enlightenment that will solve all your problems. And the way I teach, in the realm of enlightenment, in the realm of true spiritual awakening, pain becomes irrelevant. Becomes irrelevant to your life. It may exist, it probably will, and there'll be times when it does not exist. But the point of spiritual awakening is not to be pain-free. It's impossible to be pain-free on planet Earth. The point of spiritual awakening is to make pain irrelevant. In order to make pain irrelevant, you must be in touch with your power. If pain is irrelevant, we could ask, well, what's relevant? The truth. The truth. This is what's relevant. So Pontius Pilate, he had a little talk with Jesus. He said, come on, Jesus. Just tell the crowd, tell me that you really don't think you're the Son of God. I get you out of this mess and let you off the hook. And Jesus said, well, I'm a man of the truth. So I speak the truth, I live the truth, I act the truth. I will not lie. I will not lie. I will not lie. So this is what it means to be spiritually awake. We don't lie to ourselves. We don't lie to others. The problem with lying to yourself is when you do it, you bleed power. You bleed power. You bleed consciousness, like your consciousness literally becomes weakened, becomes weak every time we lie. So if we say, I'm going to do that, we do it. We do it. And in order to get this type of power, this type of strength, we have to be challenged. So again, it's not some easy road. It's not some magic pill. It's through being challenged. Through being challenged. And one of the things that, as a little boy, I can say, I grew up in a house where I had to work really hard all the time. It was on the unhealthy side. What my parents basically saw, basically taught me, you're valuable if you're working. You're valuable if you're working. So they just trained me to work a lot. Now, I don't believe in teaching a kid that you're valuable if you're working. I believe that everyone is valuable. Everyone is valuable. But the thing it did is it gave me this opportunity to constantly be challenged. I had the voice of my mind, which would basically look at my friends down the street and say, "Gosh, they don't have to work. They just get what they want, and parents buy them all the toys they want, and they don't have to do all these chores like I have to do." And so I had the voice of a complaining mind, a comparing mind. And then my parents, basically they were tough, and they said, "Well, we don't care, what the Joneses have. This is how life is for you." And so I realized that basically I had no choice. I had to work. And through working a lot as a child, I realized, even though I'm being forced in a sense to work, it's okay not to listen to my mind. It's okay not to complain. And after a hard day of work, I realized there was just a quiet sense of strength there, a quiet sense of pride, like good, healthy pride. I realized I could do anything, even if I didn't feel like it. Even if I didn't feel like it. And then at some point, I can remember when I was in the 6th grade, and around school there was these little flyers about after school wrestling, and I was a skinny, scrawny little kid, but there was just something in me that spoke to. I just heard the word wrestling, and there was just this yes that came forward out of my gut. No idea what that was, but I just followed it. I didn't question it. And the first day, actually the first week or the first month of wrestling practice, the coaches are ridiculously hard. They try to weed out the weak. They try to break you. And I can remember, everyone thought that football was the hardest sport, but the football players would come and they'd say, "Oh my God, the training, the conditioning for wrestling is ridiculous." And for me, again, it was ridiculously hard, but it was just a sense in me that I want to do this. Again, skinny, scrawny, weak. But I listened to this voice of truth within me. And as I did so, the strength would build in me. So I had tremendous strength of will. It was not given to me. that I worked for, that I earned. And many of you have this strength of will as well. And so you know this, that our power comes not through complaining, not through getting what we want, not through an easy life, not through the gift of grace. Our power comes through you listening to the truth and you following through with it. Following through. I'd go to wrestling, and the majority of the time, I would lose terribly, terribly, terribly. My heart wanted it. And I'd laugh. I look back, I'd laugh at how terrible I was. But again, it was irrelevant. It was humiliating how much I lost. But I didn't listen to the voice of humiliation. I didn't listen to the voice of doubt. I didn't listen to the voice of fear. I just showed up. This is how we connect to our power. We listen to that which is true in your heart and in your belly, and you walk in that direction. You walk in that direction. I can remember as a little boy, I got so skinny. And then to top it off, I became a vegetarian when I was a little kid. And so I was extra skinny, extra scrawny. And I look at some of these kids, and they'd have, they'd have big muscles. And I was like, oh my God, we wrestle that guy. They were gifted with big muscles. Me, not so much. What I was gifted with was will. And a will that came about through me choosing to honor the truth within me. And so my question to you is, do you choose to honor the truth? Your truth. Your specific truth and God's truth. Now, the more you get to know yourself, the more you let go of the ego programs, which are not you, what you'll find is that your truth and God's truth are one truth. In the beginning of the spiritual path, often we have our egoic truth. And then we have, in opposition to our egoic truth, is our personal truth. And we have God's truth. And all those are kind of different. The ego truth is really different. The personal truth and God's truth is, can be quite different in the beginning. In the end, we see, there's just one truth. One truth, what we call God's truth and my truth, one truth. And after we lived long enough, we see, the ego's truth just leads to trouble, suffering, pain, confusion, heartache, disaster. So anyways, one last thing I'll say is, my new friends from the Ukraine, I was just talking with my friend Katja, and she moved here. She fled the war, and I was asking her, like, if she finally found a job yet, and she doesn't speak very good English. In Ukraine, she worked in HR. She had like a serious job and career. I said, "What are you doing? You found a job?" And she said, "Oh yeah, I'm working at Carver's." I said, "Oh, what are you doing at Carver's?" Carver's is it's a restaurant and a brewery here. He said, "Oh, I'm dishwashing." I just smiled, burst out laughing, and she burst out laughing too, because sometimes life does this to us. Sometimes life will challenge you greatly in relationship to your power and to your sense of your power, your sense of self, because both of us knew that I say this politely, like, she was more sophisticated than a dishwasher. I told her all the restaurants around this town that I wash dishes in. And, we smiled. She said, "Oh, you have lots of experience." Like, I have tremendous experience being a dishwasher. I could smile about that. And, she was smiling too, because she knows that God, that life, she achieved some level of status in life, and life knocked her down. Sometimes a war will come to our country, to our town, and it displaces us. We smile because we know it's not our truth when we've been knocked down. And that one day the sun will shine again. And so another quality that we must have if we're going to connect with our power, we have to be able to see the big picture, not just the moment by moment, play by play. Sometimes the play by play is we're having a terrible experience, but we cannot allow our ego to paint that to be the reality for the rest of our life. And so it's helpful to smile, to laugh, and again, to see the big picture. Big picture. Sometimes we build ourselves up, and then God knocks us down, life knocks us down. But often when we're knocked down, we're in the lowest points. This is when we're given the opportunity to connect the most to our power, to call forth our power. And sometimes it's an outward power, a power of manifestation, but sometimes we have to spend a couple of years connecting to our inward power. It's the power of, I have faith that I will heal. I have faith the sun will shine on me again. I have faith that I will rise like the phoenix out of the ashes. I have faith. I have faith. Now, sometimes as an ego, we have a tremendous amount of strength. We say physical strength. Might have mental strength, emotional strength. And then God, life comes along and pulls the carpet out from under us. And then the great question is, do I have faith? Do I have faith? A silent form of power. When everything is going wrong. Do I have faith? Do I have faith? Now the other day, I was driving with the family, the dogs, everyone, driving across the desert on my way to warm and sunny San Diego. And we're out in the middle of the desert, and we hopped out. The desert's so beautiful out here. Went to look at some, we hopped out before this giant just work of art. If anyone's seen a volcanic neck before, if anyone knows what shiprock is, the big volcanic necks. These are just big pillars of rock. Basically, the magma, it just like thrusted itself up, out of the desert floor. Creates these towers that are just so beautiful. And over millions of years, like all the soft soil on top has been worn away, and just the whatever it's called, igneous rock. Could be a geologist here. It doesn't erode like sandstone does. And so anyways, it's a beautiful tower. So pull it off, let the dogs go out and go potty. And, I'm walking around, and, I smell all this diesel fuel. I'm going, what is, my gosh, it really smells like diesel here. It must have been, someone must have broke down here. A truck must have pulled over and had a leak. And then I look at my feet, and the diesel's pouring out from under my van. I said, oh boy, we got a problem here. And the sun was setting, and I said to tell my wife and my daughter, hey, like, we got to run home real quick. We're getting ourselves in trouble. I didn't have the tools to fix it. We're, I think we're probably 5 hours from the city. And my little girl, she was crying and crying. I said, Daddy's telling her, hey, sweetie, it's going to be okay. Mommy's telling her it's going to be okay. Sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes our vacations, get ruined, or they shift. When you're connected to your power, you see that nothing is ruined, but sometimes there's a change of plans, there's a shift. When you're connected to your power, ultimately it's going to be okay. We will be okay. Life is okay. Whether things work out or do not work out. So this is big picture power. That ultimately all is well, even when it's not. All is well, even when it's not. Now, if we listen to our ego, it's rare that anything is okay. You ever notice? It's rare that anything is okay. Ego can find something wrong. The mind can find something wrong with just about anything. Just about anything. If you ever noticed, the mind is proficient at complaining, proficient at picking things apart, proficient at judging, proficient at attacking. When we're truly connected to our power, there's this energy of enlightenment that comes forward when we realize everything is okay. Everything is okay. I am okay. I am okayness. The very fabric of my consciousness is okayness. Take that a step further, and that okayness is this indestructibility. Completely ineffable. Doesn't need anything, can't be improved upon. And some of us, we glimpse this. And then our mind comes forward with a complaint. And then we identify with that complaining mind. And so at that moment, we give our power away. We realign with egoic nature. The great question is can you step into this great okayness? And then never step out of it. Never step out of it. Never step out of it. And so anyways, so we can do questions now. I'm going to do show and tell real quick for a minute. Anne sent me something. Thank you, Anne, by the way. Truly, thank you. Anne sent me a gift, and then she sent me some pictures. But she sent me this picture of this beautiful kitty cat. It's just a manifestation of absolute power, absolute power in a bodily form. And the beautiful thing about when you see a big cat like this, and you see its paws and its tail, it's just everything about it just radiates power. I mean, there's nothing, not much a cat is afraid of. Not much a cat is afraid of. Big cat. And this is what we're meant to be. We're meant to be fearless. Fearlessly free. Fearlessly free. Most of us were given a mind that what thinks too much, doubts too much, analyzes too much, and so we're constantly doubting our power, dividing our power, and not living, in our belly, our power center. So anyways, okay, let's hear from Daniel. So I'm going to press the right buttons. Daniel, if you're here, just ask that the questions are short, clear, and direct. You hear, Daniel?
Hey, I'm here.
There you are.
Hi.
Hi, Daniel. We've spoken before, haven't we?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Where do you live?
Yes, I'm one of those Texans that you were talking about. And
All right, we're in Texas.
But I don't identify with those folk. They probably had really big trucks, didn't they?
They did have big trucks, yeah.
Yeah, of course they did.
Listen, I like a big truck.
That
Texans. I like Texans
me.
too, but they come to my town and they tend to drive really fast and like push you
all
out
over
of
your
the way.
ass. Yeah, all over your butt. Yep.
Yeah.
I know all about. That's my daily reality.
Yeah. Where in Texas?
San Antonio.
Okay. Is there a river there?
Yes, the San Antonio River.
Is there another river there, like Guadalupe River, or am I confused?
Yeah, it's nearby. That's actually my favorite place in the world. One of them.
Okay, yeah. I went like rafting, or we were little duckies in that river a long time ago and had a great old time.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my question. Yeah, so my question's related to what you're speaking about, and I'm wondering about willpower and just what wise willpower looks like. And where this is coming from is back around Thanksgiving, Christmas time, I had that classic gut opening moment where I just lost all personal motivation, all personal will, and had that, and kind of have been building back up since then and building back up motivation since then. But I've noticed as lots of motivation and desire comes back, my willpower is not necessarily there. And I guess by that I mean just like my ability to tamp stuff down. And so it's gotten me in trouble. It's starting to getting me more and more in trouble. Just that I feel like I haven't been in touch with that willpower. So yeah, I guess just as I work back up into this place of wise action in the world, how do I get more in touch? What does that wise willpower look like?
Yeah, so it looks like the voice of your heart. So when you listen to the voice of your heart, it's very clear, the direction you need to be walking, the things you need to be doing, the things you need to focus on and give your attention to. And so, like when we have a big opening, sometimes like a big belly opening can dissolve our personal will, like our personal egoic will. And normally, like the things that fall out are our politics, our like career drive. If our career drive is not in alignment with the truth, our religious, spiritual dogma, ideology, like a lot of that stuff can fall away. And, we tend to be left really empty. And so I encourage people, before they try to, say, cultivate any willpower, just to let yourself float in that emptiness for a period of time. And that emptiness is like, I had an eraser here somewhere, but that emptiness is like a great eraser. It can erase huge chunks of our egoic nature if we give it permission. Now, it tends to be frightening for our human egoic nature. But the great question is like, am I going to realign with my egoic nature and give it basically, give it the steering wheel of my life again and let my ego lead me? Or am I going to trust, in this process? And normally when we trust in the process, that God will really push us out into a space of void-like emptiness. And it can be crushing. It's just like so utterly crushing for our egoic nature. Our ego says, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to work? How am I going to make an income? How am I going to support my family? Or, whatever the thoughts are. If we're a political person, it goes into the world's going to fall apart if I'm not in the streets protesting and attacking people on the Twitter or whatever people do, And again, we just have to look at, do I want to realign the thing that is untrue, or am I willing basically to go in the desert as long as it takes? And by as long as it takes, I mean, go in the desert and just trust in the will of God. Trust that eventually God will start speaking through you. And I don't mean speaking in tongues, but basically just speaking in your heart. Speaking through your heart. Or am I willing to listen to the voice of my heart? And so, if I asked you, are you doing this? I'm gonna unmute you again. I guess you got muted again somehow. So are you doing this? Do you have faith in the silence?
I would say that was a beautiful part of it, where I was just in this huge space of trust. But what came back was, I guess you could call it the spiritual ego, was I had this intense energy to just want to run around and slap people and be like, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. And I didn't have the wise discernment on the restraint on that. And so it's starting to rub people around me the wrong way. And it's it's kind of that. And alongside that, I think it's a super ego judgment of oh man, are you sure you shouldn't be doing this? There's a lot of there's judgment that comes along with it.
So if we just put press pause button on the judgment, and then the party that's running around wanting to tell everyone to wake up, and if we just press pause on that, and if you look at, say, the will of God, if you open to the will of God, is God telling you to go out in the streets and be a proselytizer? Hold on, you keep getting muted somehow with me here. I'll unmute you again. Is God asking you to be a proselytizer?
I guess not.
Well, I don't want you to guess. I want you to feel into it. Okay. Is God wanting you to go out and to convert the unconverted?
No.
And so can we listen to that?
Yeah.
Can we listen to that? Can we just rest in the silence until the truth comes? Now, if you just take a moment and see, is God commanding you, or is life, is the truth commanding you to do something in this moment?
Well, I mean, it's alongside this. It's alongside a desire to want to share the creative things that come along with. I've written a lot of poetry, and I made a lot of just creative things. So there's also this intense desire to want to share this stuff.
Good.
And
good.
It's all, it's based on the realizations that have been coming with.
Good. And so that's the way the truth speaks. The truth likes to share in a creative way.
Mm-hmm.
A creative way, likes to share its gift in the world. And so what you're going to find is, if you reestablish yourself, in that first thing you said, the spiritual superego, at the end of the day, you're just going to feel this isn't the truth, this doesn't feel right. And then the world, because the world is actually awake. No one really understands this, but the world is actually awake, will give you feedback and say, hey, you're being a jackass. Like, we don't want this thing you're selling.
That's exactly what's happening.
That's in a way the world is awake. And then what our ego normally does, then it just shuts down. And so like we say, okay, I need to save the world. And then the world rejects us. So the ego plays the program of, now I need to shut down. But again, if we stay with the truth says, no, wait, with wisdom is discernment, and discernment comes out of this peace, out of this silence where we sit, we say, okay, I tried this one thing, but if I feel into the truth within me, there is something that wants to come forward. And can you listen to this one thing that wants to come? And what often we find is this is where a little bit of the hero's journey comes online, is it takes great courage for us to be vulnerable enough to share the depths of our heart. And this is what God is wanting from us. Now, for a lot of people, the ego has like a little like kill switch, and it says, no, I better not share that thing. Because if I share that and I'm rejected, boy, is that going to hurt. And so what I need to share is I need to share this quote from Mooji and let everyone know what Mooji said about awakening, what Adyashanti said, or what the Dalai Lama said. This is what someone else said. And so we kind of like, what's it called? Abject? I don't know if that's the right word. We give our power away. Like we project our power on someone else. Like, and it's like, we're not honoring our power, our truth. We say, oh, someone great said this. And, and again, like most religions are just a game of this, where no one stands in the truth of the Christ, but they talk about Jesus, the historical figure, versus standing in the truth of the Christ and being the Christ in their own self.
It kind of seems like I have the opposite, which is I'm oversharing because I'm too.
But my question is like, are you sharing your truth, like the depth of your truth? When we share the depth of our truth, it tends not to be oversharing. Oversharing tends to come from insecurity or an insecurity mixed with like an exuberant excitement of this is going to save the world kind of dance. But if you look at it, like anytime someone's like a proselytizer, if you talk to them, like there's a subtle insecurity in their voice and in their actions. They need, like, I need the world to hear this. Like, why? Like, why do I need? Whereas when you say the word share, like share, I love, because share it's like a word that we learn in kindergarten. It's soft. It's soft. And it's like, it's like this, like I need to share this because this cat is so beautiful. But I'm not going to shove the kitty cat down your throat. It's like, if you like it, beautiful. If not, it's okay. Like, I think it's a beautiful picture. And so I'm going to share it, but I don't need you to see it. Like, I don't need you to cooperate. I don't need you to vote for Joe Biden, or maybe Joe Biden won't be alive, maybe it'll be someone else, or whoever the other person is going to be on the other team. Like, I don't need you to get on the same team with me, because it's going to help me be less insecure. Like, and when you open in this big ground of being type of openness, you realize that all is well. All is well. And the way you realize that is God has to first empty you out. And when you're emptied out, there's kind of a sense of awe toward life, a sense of humility. But it's like, I don't have a clue how life should or should not be. I don't have a clue of how life should or should not be. And then allowing oneself to not have a clue for a while. Out of that space, after we finally get comfortable there, like right about the time when it's so painful, like we've been broken by the silence in such a painful way, but then in an accepting way. By painful, I mean it just goes on and on and on, and the ego finally burns itself out because it doesn't know the answer to life. Right about the time that the ego's fully let go, and this trust has come online, then there's this deeper voice that comes forward that says something like share. And we share our poetry or whatever it is, our gift is, from a place of peace. From a place of peace. And what we find is then often people actually see it, they hear it, people resonate with it, and then other people will reject it because they're busy getting drunk on St. Patrick's Day, you know, and it's okay. And it's okay. Like if they're doing their dance, it's okay. It's okay because you know there's plenty of time. Plenty of time where the ego always thinks like the house is on fire and we need to save everyone right now. But really, we need to save everyone because that will save us. Whereas peace just has a sense of it's going to all be okay. And out of that great okayness arises this deeper form of wisdom. This deeper form of wisdom. So anyways, is that helpful?
Very. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And I encourage you, I encourage everyone to share their truth. And when you share your truth from a place of you believing, from a place of depth in the truth, there's a sense of carefreeness about it. There's zero neediness in it. But when we share the truth from a place of neediness, well, then we become like the Jehovah Witness who are knocking on your door saying, you're going to die and go to hell. It's like, damn, man, like Sunday afternoon, I'm hanging out with my kids, like trying to save me. Like, I love Jesus. I'm saved. Everything's good. Yeah. Like, no, you're not good. You're not good. You're going to hell. And I need to tell you that.
Yeah.
Convince you with my mind that you're wrong, or with Jehovah's or the Christians, or the Mormons, or whoever it is that's coming to my neighborhood. It's like, I'm really good, truly, truly.
Yeah. There's an urgency here, so I'm realizing that's what I need to try to sit with. And
so like, again, like if you feel into your urgency, like if you bring that urgency into a sense of peace and a sense of compassion, we're not saying the urgency is wrong, but if we're compassionate and you really listen to the urgency, what's the voice in the urgency?
I mean, I've had this sense for a while. I feel like it's connected to just the love of the earth and the fear that we're destroying the earth. That's where I go to.
The truth is we are destroying the earth.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's a truth.
Yeah.
Right? And I want you to feel into it. So you said there's a fear. And so if you, and listen, there's a legitimateness to the fear. So I want to honor that. But also, I would like to ask you is, do you have faith and trust in God's will? Or do you have total faith and trust in the will of human beings? and that being the will of human beings to destroy the planet. Like, do you have faith and trust in life itself? Or do you believe that human beings are in charge of it all?
Do you want me to answer?
Yeah.
I don't think we're in charge one bit. I don't think we have it. I mean, we have.
Well, you said a moment ago we're in charge in the sense that we are destroying the earth.
So we're destroying ourselves, is what it is.
We're destroying ourselves, but again, like this, the greater question, like in this realm of peace.
The Earth has been around for 8 billion years and will continue to be around for a long time. So I guess it's
exactly. So do you have faith?
I'm worried.
Do you have faith in that?
I have faith in that part. Yes, definitely.
And so can you feel that in your gut? So not intellectually, but can you feel the peace that comes with this realization? That if we open this realization up further, do you know that you are life itself and that you will live another 8 billion years? And that's not a mental realization. When we know that what we are is indestructible, there's not fear. There's not fear. Now, there can be a healthy sense, this will sound paradoxical, there can be a healthy sense of sadness of what human beings are doing. And there can also be a healthy sense of being, like if we're in the 60s, being a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. But simultaneously, a sense of total okayness. If life, if human life ceases or if human life continues, because we know that what we are is life and life will always continue, whether humans are a part of it or not. But again, like, I don't want any of this to sound like philosophy. So this is the realm of realization when we know that all is well, even when it's not. Like the egoic urgency and egoic fear dissolve in a space of peace. And again, to make it paradoxical, and yet our humanity can continue to grieve when we see horrors and also walk in the direction of the truth. Because life, and us being life, us is not being human, but us being life is always evolving. Life is always outgrowing itself. Life is also always destroying itself and then somehow outliving itself. But again, like all of this, it just sounds like a lot of spiritual talk. The only way we come to this realization is through sitting in hell and burning until there's nothing left to burn any longer. There's no longer fear. It doesn't come through some mental gymnastics of, oh yeah, that makes sense from a non-dual perspective. This deeper power only comes through your greatest fears coming forward, you facing them and realizing, oh, didn't kill me, didn't die. When I was a kid, no offense to Al Gore and Al Gore fans, I'll have some fun here. Big Al taught like we'd be out of oil and the ozone layer, like we'd all have skin cancer, we'd all just be dead. And again, like I know that stuff is happening, but also it appears that life is continuing. And it also appears it's getting worse, but again, I don't want to get into climate politics too much, but there's a sense, a deep sense through this realization that all is well. And because one knows that, and here's the beautiful thing in that, because there's peace in this center, then one is actually freed up to go out and do good work in the world, but not from a place of fear, not from a place of shoving it down someone's throat, not from a place of you're bad and you're wrong, because you're on the right or whatever side you're on. There's this energy of love and compassion and universality in it, which creates great hope. And because one is not fighting from a place of fear, one has tremendous more power to actually affect change here on planet Earth. To affect change. It's very hard to affect change from a place of division, from a place of telling, the majority of the world they're wrong. They're screaming, we're all going to die. It's like, so anyways, Daniel, nice to be with you today.
Yeah. You too. Thank you.
Yeah, much love. Okay. Let's hear from Catherine.
Hi.
Hi, Catherine. Good to see you.
You too. My question is, or it's more of an invitation to please speak to it, is I've been leaking a lot of my power through confusion and like judgment, because I'll be like, oh, I'm good at this thing, but all these other people are probably better at it than me. So like, I'm not really good at it, or like.
What does that do for you? What does confusion do for you?
It keeps me where I'm at.
Well, it keeps you where you're at. And if you stay where you're at, like, how do you benefit from that?
I'm just running, I guess. It's like an away movement from doing something, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but how do you benefit?
I feel safe.
You feel safe, right? Yeah, you feel safe. And so at some point, like we have to lose a faith in what our ego is selling us. And so your ego is selling you a false sense of safety. A false sense. Now I'm saying it's false. Can you see it's false? Like if you stay where you're at, like, is it actually safe?
No.
No. So that's why it's a false sense of safety. And so then this is where, we talk about this spiritual path as a path of you becoming empowered. In order for you to become empowered, you have to be challenged. And so what is your challenge here? So like you have, let's say, the demon of confusion that comes and seduces your mind. I suffered with this for many years. I had the demon of confusion just floating in me. I mean, heck, I had a little bit of it this last year of this demon of confusion coming to me, go, what's going on here? And if you bow before it, it gives you that false sense of egoic safety. But what's your challenge here? Like, how are you going to free yourself from the confusion?
Probably just sit and look at it and listen to it and try and sit back in like that place of power, like deep in the back of my spine, behind my hara, and like just say like, no, like I've done a lot of hard shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to say no to the confusion. And then what is this power going to invite from you? What would be the second step? Does it want you just to sit back and be a nun in the greater Seattle metro area?
No, I don't think it wants me to be a nun.
No. So what's it going to ask of you?
I'm not I'm not totally sure.
But I want you to take a guess.
It's gonna involve going back to grad school.
Okay.
Yeah,
So then we listen to that truth. We listen to this truth.
yeah.
Yeah. And so this is us walking, it's like Jesus was called out into the desert. So this is you being called out into the desert, saying, okay, I'm going to go out the desert. I'm going to see what's there. I'm going to see what truths are there. What truths are there? And you're going to get to know these truths. You're going to be downloaded into, you're going to learn, you're going to grow, you're going to evolve. And then life is going to show you what she wants you to do with these truths. And I think you already know what that is.
I guess it's just because it feels so nebulous. Like it's just such a vague directive.
I want you to be very careful with that. Like, does it actually feel nebulous? Or do you know what you're meant to do, but you might not know all the details of like every exact step of how it's going to work itself out?
I don't know the details.
You don't know the details. Yeah. And that's okay. Like that's life. Like none of us know the details. We don't really know like what exactly are the steps. Often God will give us these two things. The truth will give us these two things. The grand vision, and then the one step that's right in front of us. So we get the grand vision and the one step. Sometimes we just get the one step. Sometimes we just get the grand vision, but God normally gives us both. The grand vision, and this is what you're meant to do. And this is the one step I need you to do right now. If you make that one step, then the next step will be revealed with due time. With due time. And so can we listen to this truth? And can we not give ourselves permission? So this is where power comes in. Is that I'm not going to give myself permission to be confused anymore. I'm not going to give myself permission to be confused. Because Catherine, I can tell you something about yourself. You already know this, but you have a tremendous amount of light, a tremendous amount of power. Confusion is not your truth. It's never your truth. What confusion does is it will buy you time. And your egoic nature loves time. It's like, I'm just going to hang out here and milk this time. Flow, space out, just be, I can't think, I'm confused. And again, like I know this because I had the same thing in my own self. It's, I'm confused. And meanwhile, the ego's like sitting back saying, oh, good, I hope she just keeps drinking this Kool-Aid of confusion because it gives me lots of time. Yeah. And during this time, the ego says, I get to have the power and I get to fuck around and I get to play my little games and I get to kind of, whatever the game is, I get to space out, or if I'm a drinker, I get to continue to drink, or I get to continue to chase this or chase that. And but a big part of the spiritual path, and especially what I'm teaching tonight, is it's time for us to take our power back from the parts of ourself that lead us astray. And say no to the untruth, no to the false gods, and yes to the truth within us. And so anyways, good to be with you, Catherine. Yeah.
Thanks,
yeah, of course. All right. Okay, well, beautiful. I think we did it. We end on time tonight. So much love to each of you. I invite you to all go forward, shining your hearts and your beauty and your divinity here into this world from a place of deep, open-hearted peace. Much love to you all. Good night. Good night, everybody.